topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the finest experts in Tampa, Orlando, and South Florida. We are waiting on our guest right now. She is attorney Debbie London Baker. She practices estate planning. Before we get to the show, I want to tell you today's show is sponsored by one of the top personal injury law firms in the state of Florida. It's Kemp, Rouge, and Green. They are personal injury attorneys. You can reach them at 727-835-8327. That's 727-835-3827. Our show is, if you're tuning in for the first time, we bring in local experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. And we do not run this like an info commercial. When you listen to our shows, you will see it doesn't sound like a commercial for our expert. We truly educate our listeners and viewers with the show here. And we get so many letters, people saying, I can't believe you offer this as a free service. And we do. So please take advantage of it. For Tampa, we're on every Monday from 9 to about 9:50. Our second show today is going to be our personal injury attorney. And I think we've got Debbie with us right now. Let's bring her on. There she is, smiling.
Hey, I forgot to sign into the studio. So that's the only, I was here, only not here. So I apologize.
Not a problem. I was just telling them about you. And you know what? You can do a much better job than I can. Again, we're with attorney Debbie London Baker. She is an estate planning attorney in Tampa. Debbie, let's start off telling everybody about you and your firm.
Okay. Well, solopreneur. That's me and George in my pocket. Anyway, we're a solopreneur, estate planning, probate, wills and trusts up in Tampa, licensed in the state of Florida. We've been around for, I could give you the date because I love it, so much fun. But let's say 24. So in 24 days, I will have graduated from law school 8 years ago. And I do this particular specialty because it really is a huge way to be of service. And I learned a long time ago that the thing that's always driven me is to be of service. I've taken care of families with 18-year-olds. And, recently I've gotten people who are appreciably older than 18. But it's just about giving them the education of what will help them later. And then they, they do with it what they want, but they have more than they had before we spoke.
I got to tell our viewers and listeners, I have to jump in because I've been working with you now for over a year. You really do care about people. And in the area of estate planning, you've got to care about your clients. And you certainly do.
Thank you. Sometimes I think it's too much, but
No. Never too much.
When I'm busy and jumping people's faces saying, you can't do that. And I go, no, not my business. It's not my business.
Well, and there's a lot of emotion involved when it comes time to estate planning, family members especially. So you've really got to be on the ball. And I just want to say this. I'm so glad we have your firm as our estate planning, I can say this, but expert. Now, from an attorney's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
what's the most important thing a person can do when it comes time to estate planning?
Oh, from an attorney's perspective. Well, I guess the most important thing is to do it. Actually, well, this isn't mine, but I just purchased round to it. So do you know what a round to it is, Steve?
I do not.
Okay. So anyway, a round to it is a coin that's round, and in the middle it has TUIT. So when people say, I'll do this when I get around to it, it's you give them one, and then it's really hard for them not to do it anymore. Well, it's more difficult. Let's put it that way. But the biggest thing is to do it. It is to have a conversation with an attorney, not with your friend who thinks they know, which we've all done. We think
Yes.
we know, but we don't know about things we don't know anything about. Whether it's that you don't own anything, which is not true, whether it costs too much, which is not necessarily true, whether you'll die as soon as you do it. Those are the three biggest superstitions. And you just want to do it. If you have an 18-year-old in the house, you want to do it. You want to be able to help them if something comes up. So I would say the biggest thing is to get your own education. Call people who've done it. Ask them for referrals. And the thing I've learned is you want to work with the person, not necessarily who's been in practice the longest or has the most additional credentials after their JD. You want to work with the person that you're comfortable with. You're comfortable saying, my children don't get along and I don't know what to do about it. Or I had a woman last week she was going to disinherit her son. She left him a life insurance policy, so she wasn't cutting him out completely. And then when she looked at the language in the documents, she had the courage to call me and say, you have to take that out. I can't do that. I'm not going to run the risk of ever seeing this in writing. So, okay, no problem. Or the person who says, I know I haven't spoken to my son. I have one family like this. One of the woman's 4 daughters really wound up treating her terribly. Well, she left whatever little she has to all 4 of her daughters equally, where 2 of her daughters wanted her to just disown their sister. And she said, no, I'm not doing that. She's still my daughter. So it's being able to listen to those stories and invite. Something I learned a long time ago, Steve, when I was coaching is it's a gift that I've been given by God. I create very safe spaces. So people tell me things I would never ask, and I am truly nosy. So if somebody shares with me something that even I wouldn't ask about, that's something that has somehow been created in the space between us that allows people to share. And I'm always honored by it. Always, always, always honored by it. So that's what people need. They need to do it. They just need to do it.
Well, I know you did life coaching. You probably still
Right.
do. And I have a question that I've never asked another estate planning attorney in our other cities. When you have a client that wants to cut out a son or a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
do you step in and say anything, or do you just grant their wishes?
It depends. I ask why, and I mean, what has happened that has brought you to that decision. And I've also learned, I'm not, see, this is as a coach, I could tell you that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You're going to regret it the day you die. And and as a lawyer, I'm really constrained from doing
Okay.
that. So what I've learned as a lawyer, though, which is interesting, which I never thought of, was for my protection and the client's protection to get something in writing about what prompted the decision. So let's just say do you have siblings, Steve? Do you
I have siblings.
You said,
Yes.
okay. So let's just say your mother decided, or your parents decided that they were going to disinherit your sister, if you have, or whatever, one of your siblings, right? You didn't know about it, okay? But by the attorney and your mother putting something in writing as to the reason, there's less likelihood that the sibling who's been disinherited could claim undue influence. It wasn't he didn't call me yesterday and it was Mother's Day and I'm signing my documents today. So put that clause in. I don't care what happened to him. Right. Right. So a colleague taught me that you need to have something in writing for your benefit and for their protection, both, that they just weren't having like a snit. They weren't in a snit about something. Right. But it breaks my heart every time. So I was very glad when this woman called and said, take that language out. I just take that out. And I do attempt to talk people out of it. Like, are you really sure you want to do this? People generally also disinherit the progeny of that child. I said, you really want to do that? You really want to disinherit your grandchildren because you're angry at their parent? And some people have said, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I said, okay. So we'll disinherit Joe Smith, but we won't disinherit Abby Smith and Bart Smith. But it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
I think that's one of the toughest things about what you do is when the people want to cut out a close family member. But what are some of the key surprises that people generally don't know about when they will cause a lot of distress after they fail, not doing a plan out properly? Because what you do is so important. And some people think that, oh, I've got plenty of time, I'm healthy. And because we just don't know from day to day, do we?
No. So the things I do is they put it off. They put it off until whatever that looks like, which is, I think for me, it's the not appreciating, you've heard me say this, and I love saying it because it's just funny. If you hate your family, you don't want to plan because they're going to pay the price financially, emotionally, every way. If you care about your family, you do it to save them grief. So it's the person who puts it off and then gets hurt. They're in an accident and they don't have anything in place and nobody can help them. They're not married. So spouses can generally step in and talk to doctors and make decisions without necessarily a legal document. But if you're a single person with siblings and you haven't designated somebody to help you in the event of an injury or something like that, you're out of luck. Doctors would be foolish to speak to the sibling. And I would imagine that doctors are heartbroken as well, that HIPAA laws and constrain them from acting for fear of being sued by Joe, who's been disinherited by Mom. So those are the things that break my heart. People who have Florida is really interesting, which I didn't come to learn until 3 years ago when I was doing a workshop and a gentleman said, Florida has the unique, I don't know if it's totally unique, but it's one of the few maybe who have a requirement for the people who represent you for your personal representative or executor in your will, where they must be a blood relative, regardless of where they live, or live in the state of Florida. So you could be my best friend for 30 years, Steve, and I could have made you my executor. Okay, because I didn't want to burden my husband. It wasn't about him. I just want to burden. As soon as you move to Georgia, you are no longer eligible to serve because you are not a blood relative. You're not a blood relative. So it's not relative by marriage. It's blood relative. And people don't understand that. So actually, I'm doing a workshop tomorrow at an adult congregate care retirement community where you move in 55 plus, and it takes you through the end of life. And I would venture to guess there are people in that room who will have wills that they did years ago, who appointed somebody who, forget the age, have moved. And they're not aware, they can't serve. So now what's happening, people move to Florida and they don't have anybody because everybody they have, their family is no longer around. They don't live anymore. And they have no children and all their people are up north. And they don't have anybody to appoint. So they could appoint a professional. Somebody like me can serve as a personal representative. The challenge with that is that has a fee attached to it. I mean, not the upfront fee of creating the documents, but if I have to be your personal representative for your estate, I'm going to get part of the proceeds of the estate, however large or small it is. And that's money you wanted to go to the Humane Society or your church or your synagogue. And whatever small percentage that is, that doesn't go there. It's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to hear people, we don't have anybody, say we don't have anybody. It's like, oh my gosh, how could you have nobody?
How, and it's amazing how, I think we talked about this last time, that Prince, the singer, passed away and didn't even have a will. And here he had all these representatives, managers, that no one really told him that he needs to have a will. So he passed away with no will. And it caused a lot of trouble for a lot of the family members.
Yeah. Who knows? People don't know. I worked with a financial advisor years ago. He was my financial advisor. And he said some of his favorite clients are young athletes who are smart enough to know they can't handle their own money. So you get, whatever it was then, it's like 10 times as much now. You get like a $5 million signing bonus to sign with whomever. And these people are smart enough, or their business managers are smart enough to say, go find a good financial advisor because you will blow this. So,
Yes.
Who knows what happened with Prince or all the other people who die without any kind of plan, or just a will versus a trust where you've got millions and millions and millions of dollars. And you can choose, with a trust, you can choose, clients have said to me, I couldn't handle $50 when I was 18. You think I could have handled $50,000 when I was 18? Right? Yeah. So with a trust, then you give them this much money at this age and this much money at this age and this much money at this age. And you allow people to grow into their inheritance, whatever that is. But people don't know that. And go back to, they think it's too expensive. I've said that they don't have a frame of reference. So anybody listening here has purchased something for the first time that they thought was outrageously expensive, but they did it because they wanted it badly enough, which doesn't include estate planning, but they wanted it. They wanted the car, they wanted the suede jacket, they wanted the vacation, and they were going to go whatever. But then the next time somebody said, how much did it cost you to do that? You said, well, it cost me X number of dollars. And, it was a really good deal. I mean, I could have gotten it for less. I could have gotten it for more. But when you look at it, I got a deal. But until such time as you have a frame of reference. So when people tell me it's too expensive, I do say, compared to what? And they never have an answer. Well, they might have an answer. I can do it online. I'm like, you can. And I personally still believe it's very dangerous.
Yes, I agree.
It's not customized, and there's no way to do it. I've sent people, there are services that do it, like for subscriber. I've sent people there who are clearly without finances, without the wherewithal to pay pretty much any fee. Listen, they're licensed attorneys, they're quality, they're checked on, they get Martindale Hubble, where they get rated. They want you to complain if you're not happy with the service. The prepaid legal service, whatever they call it now, they want you to complain if you're not happy. If you really don't have any finances, go get it done there. Absolutely.
I think whoever called it estate planning did a disservice. Because when you hear estate planning, you think, oh, you've got to be a multimillionaire. And that's just not true, is it?
No, it's like $500 in the bank is enough for you to do something. $500 would help somebody pay one bill if you just beneficiary designated it. And the thing I've learned recently, just listen to people, is so they've got a joint account. So one will inherit, one will get it if the other dies. They either forget that they want to appoint somebody if they die together. And then the other thing I've learned is you want to appoint somebody after that. So because, whether it's a friend or a family member or a child, you can't promise that they won't predecease you. Like you said, we're never promised tomorrow, right? So the next layer down, we'll keep it out of probate. But if you appointed a beneficiary for one of your accounts, Steve, and that person died, and you don't go back and do it again, that money becomes a probate asset. Worse, if you no longer like that person and you've appointed them a beneficiary and you don't change it, it doesn't matter because beneficiary designations supersede, they override anything you have in your will. So if you say, Deb Baker gets my, my vintage 1956 brand new, Corvette, but you've already given it away, that takes care of it. Or if you say, Debbie Baker gets my IRA, that's great. But if your beneficiary designation says your son got it, and you're not even talking to your son anymore, God forbid, guess who gets the money? Your son. Right. That will has no power. So I would say in terms of things happening, that breaks my heart too. Well, what do you mean they're going to get it even though they didn't want them to have it? They never changed it. Never changed it.
I got to tell you that your show goes by so fast. Now, if you're watching the show, we run Debbie's phone number across the scroll. But for those of you who are listening on radio, Debbie, give everybody your phone number.
Okay. So my phone number is area code 813-586-1332. 813-586-1332. And my email is debbaker@londonbakerlaw.com. And if you could email me, remember the law, because people here, their mind cuts off at that third word and they say, I emailed you to debbiebaker.com. I went, londonbaker.com. Nope, londonbakerlaw.com.
And Debbie is with us the last Monday every month at 9:00. It's very easy. The last Monday of the month at 9:00. And we are going to start taking questions from the audience. I haven't told her this yet. We're going to start taking questions from the audience. And if you would like to text us a question, you can text us at 954-336-3767. We'll be promoting that during the month. We are going to start taking your questions and we are going to present those to Debbie.
I can't wait.
Yes. And the next time, I'm hoping she puts her cat on her lap and makes her cat part of the show.
I'll have to be wearing white. Okay.
Debbie, thank you so much. We'll see you again next month.
Have a great one. Thanks, Steve.
God bless you.
Yeah, you too.
Attorney Debbie London Baker. Folks, let me tell you, estate planning is so important. And what we do here on our show is bring you the best of the best. And she is the best of the best. She's not allowed to say that by law, but I can say it, though. She's just a wonderful person to work with, somebody you can trust. And she's been with us on our show for well over a year. Our next show is without a doubt our most popular show. Personal injury, gosh, when it comes to auto accidents, slip and falls, dog bites even. This is something you just do not handle yourself. You've got to have representation. And I don't think people quite understand that when you hire a personal injury attorney, you don't have to sit there and write them a check. It's done on a contingency basis, and it's based on how much they get you. But I got to tell you, my son, big shot, my son tried to handle his own case, and he will tell you now it was the dumbest move he ever made, because he said, Dad, I left a lot of money on the table by trying to do this myself. And listen, we see all kind of commercials for attorneys. We see them on buses. We see them on billboards. We see them on TV. What we have been really lucky to do is get the law firm of Kent, Rouge, and Green. They have been with us for well over a year, and we get so many positive reports back from our listeners. And we are so lucky to have them, because they really do care, and they really do take care of their clients. So we're waiting for the senior partner, Stacy Kemp, to come on, and she should be with us any minute. Once in a while, they have emergencies that come up, and it's like they've got to be in court right away. So I don't think she's quite on yet. We are going to Rebel. She's not on yet. Stacy?
No, sorry, she's not here yet.
Okay. Well, we'll give her a few more minutes, and maybe if you can, Rebel, I don't know if you can do this, but maybe if we can pull up her past. Oh, we can't do that. We can't pull up her past show. Because Stacy's with us the last Thursday. She's our 9/25 guest, the last Thursday of every month.
But everyone can go back into the show histories and look at wherever they watch your show. I'm sure they can scroll through and find one of the episodes previous.
Yes. Well, I was talking about that we could possibly run her show, but if we can't, we will just bring it to an end today early. We'll give it a few more minutes, but I wanted to talk to you about their law firm. And the reason why is we used to get people contacting us who watched the show and would say, you got to get a personal injury attorney, because for some reason, when it comes to personal injury, in the olden days when we had yellow pages, people would literally hire an attorney by who had the largest ad. And then some people, because everybody started doing a full page ad in yellow pages, then they would start going to 2 full pages. Folks, that's not a way to hire an attorney. And nowadays, a lot of people hire an attorney by who has the nicest website. Again, not a great way to hire an attorney. So with a show like ours, when we bring attorney Stacy Kemp on, with a show like ours, and we bring on her firm, Kemp, Rouge, Green. And let me give you their phone number, because they sponsor our entire show every week. It's 727-835-8327. That's 727-835-8327. They handle wrongful death. They handle property claims, even dog bites, motorcycle accidents. If you're in an accident, you need to hire an attorney and not feel bad about it. Again, their phone number is 835-8327. And they are, I'm going to tell you something, they are one of the finest personal injury law firms in Tampa. And they're also in Orlando, and they're also through northern Florida. But that's kind of the purpose of our show. We can educate you, in this case on personal injury. It doesn't cost you anything to either watch or listen to our show. And our experts really give incredible information. It doesn't cost you anything. And you know that whoever our expert is, that is who you want to go with. And a lot of times I'll tell our listeners and viewers, write the phone number down, because tomorrow, God forbid, you could be in an automobile accident and you'll go, who was that attorney? Ask the experts recommended. And you'll say, God, I wish I had written the phone number down. So I'm going to give this number out one more time. And because of them, they allow us to bring all these experts out at no charge. The number for Camp Rouge and Green is 727-835-8327. 727-835-8327. That's the Camp Rouge and Green. And when you contact them, tell them you heard about it on the Ask the Expert show. Rebel, doesn't look like she's going to be able to join us today. And I am no expert to talk. Oh, did I see her? There she is.
Oh, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I was just bragging on your firm and telling people how important it is. Don't try to handle this yourself. My son did that after an automobile accident, and he will admit he lost a lot of money by trying to handle it himself.
That definitely would happen. They're going to take advantage of you if you do that.
Yes. So, Stacy, let's first of all we got so many after your last show. We got so many people who were driving in their car who wanted your phone number. They didn't have a pen or a pencil with them. So, first of all, tell people about your firm.
So we do car accidents, personal injury, car accidents, slip and falls, things like that. Basically just anything where you get injured and it's not the fault of your own or at your house. So obviously you can't sue yourself. I've had people call and say, hey, I slipped in my own whatever. So clearly we can't really help you there. And but anytime you're injured or you're hurt through the negligence of somebody else, give us a call and we'll see if it's something we can help you with.
Well, we had actually, and I hope I didn't misspeak, we had a couple calls from Orlando, which were opening up in several weeks, and we gave them your phone number. Do you handle cases in Orlando?
We do. We handle
Good.
all over the state of Florida. And we even handle cases in other states. We have a couple attorneys that are licensed in Georgia, and sometimes we are able to handle things in even other states. And if we need, to litigate, we have other attorneys that we can bring on to help us with those cases.
Well, let's get right to the show. What we do with the show is we actually have you give us your questions, and then we present those questions to Stacy. And I can't believe all the questions that we're getting. Again, if you have a question, just text us at 954-336-3767, 954-336-3767. And again, today's show is brought to you by the Kent Rouge Green Law Group. Their phone number is 727-835-8327. Let's go to Mary first. And she says, I missed the first half of your show last month. Can you tell me about your firm, which we were just doing? How long do I have to report an injury for an automobile accident?
So when you make an injury claim, people talk about reporting. That has more to do with your PIP benefits. So that's more to do with making sure that you get to the doctor within 14 days so that you can document an injury so that your PIP benefits will pay. That is separate from an injury claim. There is no amount of time that you have to report the injury. Now in the state of Florida, you have 2 years to make the claim. So now if you don't get any treatment within a certain amount of time, it's going to be a little suspect, right? So like if the accident happened today, but you never go to the doctor for like 6 months and then suddenly say you're hurt, that's going to be hard for us to prove. So it's about being able to prove the injury as well, not just are you injured, but did we document it correctly? Which is why it's important to do it closer to the accident date, because you don't want them to be able to argue that you're not really injured from the accident. Maybe there was something else that caused your injury. So you want to be able to prove it. And I tell people all the time, they'll be like, I wasn't at fault. I was like, well, if we can't prove it, then we can't win. So everything is about proof and documentation.
We had a lot of people ask about, do you recommend going to your family doctor or a chiropractor after an automobile accident?
Yes, Steve. So typically, family doctors don't see car accident cases. And the defense really loves to make, all these insinuations that attorneys are referring you to a doctor and stuff like that to try and make us look like there's some, connection of evilness going on. But the truth of the matter is most family doctors don't see auto accident cases. So if we didn't have a network of people that we knew would treat you, and we didn't help you and guide you where you should go to document your injuries, you wouldn't know where to go. So it's not that we're in cahoots with any doctors. I use hundreds of doctors. Okay. I don't have like personal relationships with them. I just know they do a good job and they see car accident cases, right? There's no relationship. It's work, right? So when our clients get into accidents, depending on where they live, we try and help them find a doctor close to where they live. So it's reasonable, because many car accident cases take therapy, and it takes sometimes multiple times a week. You can't be going to a doctor an hour away. You're never going to go, right? So we try to be reasonable as far as finding someone close to you that will see you. And the family doctors just don't want to treat car accident injuries. Why? Because there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of extra that comes into play for a doctor to put up with dealing with these cases. And I say put up with it because it's true. They then have to deal with lawyers subpoenaing records all the time. The doctors we work with actually have to hire extra employees just to answer subpoenas and send in records and send in updated bills and all of these things because of their car accident clients. They also have to hire billing attorneys because they're constantly being harassed by the insurance companies regarding their billing practices and if this is right and that is right. So they have to make sure they do everything perfectly, because the insurance defense attorneys will try to slam them on anything that they do. So they have to hire attorneys to help them if they're going to do these cases. Not only that, they have to be willing to go to depositions and mediations and actually shut their practice down for half a day or a full day or multiple days and lose thousands and thousands of dollars to go sit in a depot or a trial where they're going to be harassed by insurance defense counsel about their practices and what they did. So it takes special people that are willing to take that on. And family practice doctors typically don't want to do that. They have so many patients coming in and out. They're not going to shut their practice down for you. They're not going to do it. They refuse. So if you call them and say, hey, I was in an accident, they're gonna be like, oh, sorry, we don't do accident cases. Have a great day. Bye. You know? They're like, we're not doing all that. We're not going to be harassed and shut our practice down for you. Like, no, thank you. So we have to help you. We have to guide you to the people that are willing to do that. And so the insurance companies can, tell us all they want that we're terrible for helping you do that, but you don't really have a choice. We need to help you do that.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, I was telling them a little story about my son who had an automobile accident, and he's a salesman. So he's thinking, oh, I can negotiate a great deal for myself, cut out the attorney. And people don't realize when you go up against the insurance company, they're very good at what they do. They're going to pay you the least amount possible. And he'll tell you now, if I would have had an attorney, I could have gotten so much more. Because the ins and outs, and we as just street people, we don't know. I mean, what do we have? Maybe one accident in our lifetime that might have injuries. So it is so important that, and especially the way you charge, Stacy, you don't have to write the attorney a check. It's all done on a contingency basis.
Yeah, right. So, no, you're 100% right. It's really, they make things difficult, You're
used to dealing with these people. That's all you do all day long is deal with these people. So, and sometimes people will give out information they shouldn't be giving out either. So would you say if you have an accident, the first thing they should do is contact you before anything?
You should, because you don't want to give them something that they'll try to use against you later on. If you make statements and truthfully, a lot of times people don't realize the extent of their injuries at first. They really think that, it's not that bad, or, you're having some headaches, you're having some soreness, but maybe it's not that bad. The problem is that sometimes these injuries don't go away. And so it might not feel bad now, but after you've been dealing with it for 6 months and you realize it's not going away, it starts to wear on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the problem is that you don't always know, and you really don't want to make those statements because there are times when our clients need injections months down the road, surgeries months down the road that they never would have even known they needed. So if you start making statements about it not being too bad, then you're going to give off an impression that you don't even really know yet because you don't know yourself. You know what I mean? I have to grab a tissue really quick, Steve. Hold on one second.
Go right ahead. See, late folks, this is live TV. So things like this happen. I thought Stacy was crying for something I said. We're just kidding with her. But I think my next question is going to be a question a lot of people have because I've gotten about 6 or 7 emails from people that about auto accidents that we're going to ask Stacy about. Just waiting for her to.
Okay, sorry. I'm in Kentucky right now with my daughter.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, she's filming a movie here. It's like a firefighter movie, PTSD firefighter movie that she's doing. So I'm working remotely right now in Shelbyville, Kentucky.
Okay. I thought you were crying or something, Stacy.
No. Well, I may be crying because I'm in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and I'm bored.
Yeah, really. So listen, I have a question that we got about 7 or 8 emails, all basically the same. I'm going to use Ron's from Orlando. Wants to know, what if you're in an automobile accident and the other party does not have insurance?
So that does happen a lot, and it's unfortunate. And it's not even always, Steve, that they don't have insurance. It's that they don't have injury insurance. And there's a difference, right? So the only insurance that's required in the state of Florida is property damage, which is to fix your car, and only $10,000 of property damage, by the way. So if your car is more expensive than that, you need to make sure that you have collision coverage, okay? And PIP coverage, property damage, PIP coverage. That's all that's required in the state of Florida. That has nothing to do with what we do. We don't make claims on property damage or PIP coverage. So the only way you have an injury claim, which will actually pay you for pain and suffering and extensive, medical bills, out-of-pocket medical bills, lost wages, all those things, is if there's injury coverage. And so the at-fault party would have to have bodily injury coverage on top of their property damage and PIP coverage, which you have to pay more for because it's not required. So you can imagine a lot of people, they reject coverage if it's not mandatory because they don't, a lot of people don't have the money to pay the extra. So the only way that you can protect yourself from being injured at the fault of somebody else who doesn't have sufficient injury coverage, and even if they have injury coverage, they could have $10,000, which that's not going to pay for injections or surgery, right? So if you want to make sure you have sufficient coverage, you need to make sure you look at your policy and that you elected uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. That's the coverage that you can use whether the at-fault party is covered, whether they're covered a little, whether they're covered not at all. You can use your uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. You can also get coverage through an umbrella policy, okay? So you can have like your regular auto policy, and then you can buy an umbrella policy that covers like your house, your cars, whatever you have. And they're cheap. They're cheap policies. But you can add underinsured motorist coverage to an umbrella policy for pretty reasonable, and you could have millions of it. So that if you are really, really hurt, you have access to $1 million or more of uninsured motorist coverage. So it's definitely something to consider. I have an umbrella policy above my auto policy for uninsured motorists of like $5 million, right? And the cool thing about that is not only does it cover me, it covers everyone in my household. So it covers my 2 children, if they're in my car or if they're in someone else's car or their car, because I have a 16-year-old now. So it covers her and her car. These things are important, right? And those umbrella coverages really aren't that expensive. They're cheaper than regular policies.
Well, I got to tell you, next month we got to do a show on insurance policies and what people need. Your show goes by so fast. Let me just tell people, today's show is brought to you by the law firm of Camp Rouge and Green, and they represent auto accidents, slips and falls, dog bites, motorcycle accidents, wrongful death. Call them. If you have an injury, 727-835-8327. If you're watching us on TV, we've been scrolling the number. If you're listening on radio, give them the number again, Stacy.
It's 727-847-HURT, which is 727-847-4878, or you can dial pound HURT on your cell phone.
I got to tell you, we love having you on the show. I'm sorry you're in Kentucky today, but Stacy's with us the last Monday of every month at 9:25. And I think the best thing to do is we need to talk car insurance next month, because we're getting so many letters from listeners going, I was hit by and have injuries and they didn't have insurance. Stacy, we will see you next month. Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you, Steve. You guys take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Stacy Kemp. We got to get out of here. We're going to be back with you again next Monday at 9:00 with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.